Hi, it's Kari. It is Thursday, February 9th, 2017. I was sitting here shaving and I was thinking about pain. And a lot of the stuff that I read about it was, of course, the skin sensitivity changes when a male to female trans person goes on the hormone therapy. The skin gets more sensitive, you're more sensitive to pain. So if you were going through electrolysis before on your face, it would feel as though it hurt more, yeah, like several months yada yada after going on hormones, when your skin changes. Because there's a time frame and it's different for everybody's how long it affects. But the other side of it is, and this is the part that hit me and why I decided to turn this on right now. Testosterone heightens the fight or flight. And the way that the male brain is wired is for the fight end of fight and flight. And the female side of it is to stand back and make a decision. It's not the flight. It's this weird second. And so the male side is, fight or flight. And the women is, there's that third option. And so with men, you just get this instant decision making process because the testosterone makes everything kind of immediate. Here, now, come on, let's go. And a woman with the estrogen is more in tune with emotions and feelings and, all the cliches you can think of from that. And my brain is wired for that. And so now that the testosterone is not in the way, and it's been 9 months and I've really settled in, I'm still having these instances of like, God, this is proof that I'm just female. I wanted to say typically female, but no female is really typical. We're all different. But some of the stuff is just so eye rolling, really, and as stupid as I can be, it's, at least there's the justification. That's who I am. So I know the side of being kind of forced in, being forced into a reaction and how unnatural for me it feels. But like for a female to male that goes on testosterone, finally they get that that difference that they need. It's very interesting, and for me, those are the questions and comments that would be more welcome than any of the body questions. Anyway, beside the point, what I was talking about with pain is very emotional. There was a time when I was a kid, I hung on a nail for like, I don't know, 2, 3 hours. And it was, like that close to my spine kind of thing. I still have this scar on my back. Long story, but, I came to find out going through all this pain that, there's a huge emotional side to it. It's worrying about the pain rather than just staying in the moment and feeling it for what it is. There's two sides to it. And so, on top of having more sensitive skin, women are more in tune with their feelings, and having pain, emotional or physical, and joy, emotional or physical, since they're there, since we, god damn, are wired for that, and the hormones, that is the balances that are supposed to be there in our bodies, really kind of accentuate this. And so there's a whole different connection there. And now that I'm feeling more female, I'm, sometimes I have to fight to express what it was like as a guy, because it's just so nice settling in. that I don't often think about that much. And I've even caught myself talking to people, even people that knew me in my other life, because there's not many, but yeah, those that knew me before, it's weird talking about that person, or even having to refer myself as trying to stay gender neutral or trying to keep gender. Yeah, it's like some stories you just can't say her, refer to me as her in the past because it's just an obviously male story that only a little boy would go through. Um, so, and a lot of this stuff is straight out of the books, that I read early on, and all the little stuff like this on the web that I saw. Took me a while in my life to even dare to look at it, even though most of my, time on the internet, looking up porn and everything was always alone. I was even so scared that I would rather have somebody walk in on my porn habits than have me watching anything trans related. Yeah, and that was like a decade of that. So, yeah, and all these stories, I've gone through so many of them. So many of them. And reading these, I kind of knew I would. But I hoped that mine would be one of those smooth, real happy stories. Because even the smooth, happy stories are difficult beyond measure. There's such a difficulty to being trans that's inexpressible. We do our damnedest, but it's inexpressible. And anybody who's a friend of someone who's trans, or has a family member who's trans, or a loved one, whatever. It's yeah, thank you for being there in any way you can. And feel free to pick moments, at least with me, and ask questions. There's a time, and please be respectful if we just say now's not a good time, and then like with me, sometimes when it's not the right time, I don't even have the energy to explain why it's not a good time. So, you have to read people, and sometimes with someone trans, you just get them at that perfect moment where they have just the right amount of time. And you'll be amazed what you learn. And if you want to ask the question that most people want to ask, you know, rather that than say, sorry about that, my phone ran out of space. What I was saying, rather than ask the obvious body question that so many people ask and seem interested in, because yada yada yada. Rather than ask that question, ask what's most interesting to that person. Because with me, the most interesting and hardest thing to express was the difference I could look at life, the whole way I reacted to life, and life reacted to me was different. It was so freeing. It's so hard to express that lifting of this enormous, enormous weight. And, like my father at one point, when he was really starting to dig in on me on being trans and controlling everything I did, he was like, "Why would you want to do this? You're making your life harder. Look at these things that you'll have to go through and the danger that your life could be in." And I would look at him baffled, and I said, there's no choice here. I am dead if I don't do this. And it was such a bold statement of fact that he couldn't handle that. There was no beating around the bush. It wasn't hyperbole. I wasn't looking for attention. I wasn't looking for justification. I was pleading with him to understand that this is my life. I can no longer live like this. I can no longer live like what you see. You know, you're reacting to me as though I'm your son, you know, I'm your daughter. You know, please stop treating me as a son. Please. And it shook everything that he thought he held, because you know he was a teacher and he was one of these, you know, students could come up and talk to him about anything, open accepting, and he would even say that kids are, you know, the most accepting of all, and especially about trans issues. And he, you know, had several trans students over the years and all this kind of stuff, and he was always really accepting about it. But then when his own child comes out with it, it suddenly is just these, every single thing he said he was okay with, and every, yeah, every single one of those things he went back on. And, you know, what if, you know, some child sees you? You know, like I mentioned in, I think, one of my very first videos. You know, I mentioned that, and he flips out. Um, Yeah, that's the interesting things about being trans. And people like us, and I was just thinking, it just occurred to me about another friendship that I have, is you wouldn't expect, with my father, he would never have expected to be challenged in such a close and personal way, his point of view about something. And trans is such a different basic core point of view. You know, trans people from a very early age are aware of gender and gender roles and that kind of thing. And you know, our minds are forced into consciousness with it. And so we've had this different perspective all our life. And in order to survive, you have to be smart. And so trans people are really, really a very intelligent group of people. You really can't be stupid and survive. You know, we all get lost in our problems of life, but by no means is that something to judge somebody by. These are the interesting things about being trans. And like with friends that I have and have had, you know, that these barriers come up, and you know, the person doesn't see that this is a trans issue, but you know, this is a, you know, you know, you need to work on it problem, as though, you know, anybody else would, because it's, they see you as anybody else, and that's so flattering because you are just anybody else. But people in early transition like me are, we're still figuring out the reacting to the world the correct way, because now we're being ourselves. And you know, as any toddler learning to walk, it takes time, you know. And you know, we're doing everything from the beginning and going through puberty at the same time and living adult lives at the same time. These are huge things to overcome and to interact and to line up and learn how to deal with. And we're incredible people for dealing with this. It's very difficult to do this while being judged at every moment, everywhere you go. You know, it's incredible, and most people don't understand the strength that it takes. And there's the obvious kind of things that you see, and then you get to know somebody who's trans, and you know, you see that they're just a person, and but then
you see that the way that they react to life, and it's easy not to think that there's this huge undercore perspective that these people have. And people get caught up in the body. The body's not the interesting questions. As with anything in life, if you're out for the movie that's nothing but special effects, then fine, those things have their place. I enjoy those from time to time. But I would prefer a movie or a book that's deep and has substance. That's that's the good stuff. What's a little bit deeper? Take some time to think about it. And like with any issue in life, when you have somebody trans in there, it can get heightened. So life's tough and shit's down to the wire for me again. Money's a real big issue right now. I am in a real uncertain time. I don't know, but I will deal with this problem and any other problem that comes up with the problems. Well, like the problems I've had in the past. I will keep my head up as well as I can, and I will trudge forward. As a dear friend of mine said once, you're a survivor. God damn it, he's right. I am a survivor.